Welcome to the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening, with your hosts Fran Cadrone and Marina Theron-Monnery. For more information about Fran and Marina, or to apply to be a guest on the show, please go to our website www.hopenning.com. The Hopenning is for informal purposes only and is based on the research of your hosts, Fran and Marina. They, as well as their guests, are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from this podcast, which is not intended to replace any professional medical advice or care by medical professionals you are currently utilizing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening. And this is episode 82. So welcome, Marina, and welcome to our special guest, Ernie Flores, who comes to us from Talent, Oregon. It says a lot about you, Ernie, the name of your town. And Ernie is a shamanic practitioner who has been in the business of shamanic practicing for about 3 years. He also started out in psychology. So Ernie has a master's degree in counseling as well as a B.Ed in psychology from UC Santa Barbara. Ernie has worked in the business for 25 years. He started out in Ashland, Oregon, and he has found through his practice the work of drumming helps healing the shamanic ancestry, and he's a fantastic person who knows his stuff because he's got such a wealth of information and background in psychology. He did his master's degree in Jungian psychology and depth consciousness, which is new to me. I've not heard that term before. But thank you, Ernie, for joining us, and thank you, everyone, for joining us as well. So thank you, Ernie, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I feel blessed to be here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful to have you, Ernie. So we're just going to fall right in. Tell us your journey. How did you get from where you were to where you are today?
Sure. Let's see. That started when I was in my childhood, actually. When my parents would take me to the library, I would get books on things like Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, stuff that's sort of out of the ordinary for a youngster to be getting booked at the library. And I've always been outside of what is mainstream culture. And that led to me in my 20s reading books about Carlos Castaneda and his journey with this shaman named Don Juan. And that just really opened up a whole new world of exploration and what's possible. And I knew at that point that that was something that I absolutely needed to have in my life and to experience. So I ended up doing my master's thesis at Pacifica Graduate Institute on altered states of consciousness. And I looked at many different states like meditation, hypnosis, dreams, which is my passion, and also shamanism. And it allowed me to do a deeper dive to understand that more and get more information. But it wasn't until 2021 that I actually, and this was right in the middle of the pandemic, that I felt this internal call to get the training and how to do this shamanic work so that I could actually take it to a whole new level. I mean, it's one thing having the book knowledge, information, but to have an experience of it is a whole different ballgame. So I heard the call to meet up with this shamanic practitioner who's a world-renowned medicine woman, and started training with her. And she taught me all the tools that laid down a foundation for how to do the basic skills. And I've been practicing ever since. I recently opened up my own business called Flores Shamanic Healing about a year ago, and I'm absolutely loving it. I feel like I have finally found my calling. I'm 54 years old, and it's taken me quite a while to find my place in this world. And once you find your place, everything just flows with you, and that life supports you, and opportunities open up. So I feel really blessed to have found this path.
So in the north here, I live in northern Alberta, Canada. We have a lot of First Nations people here, and as well where Marina lives. In Canada, we are really working hard on reconciliation, right? With First Nations people. And I know that your work is very much like the work that's going on with the generational trauma that's going on within that is being now recognized within First Nations people. I'm wondering, in your shamanic practicing, in your business, in your clientele, is there a lot of that generational healing as well that's going on? Is that what you focus on, or what do you focus on in your work?
Sure. I typically meet with people to get a better understanding of what's going on in their life and what they want to focus on. And some clients definitely are very interested in doing the ancestral healing work. I was working with somebody just recently who felt that she had received lack consciousness passed down from generation to generation. And it came out in the form of never having enough money. So we were able to do a journey so that she was able to connect with her ancestors from the past, that she's never even met this person that showed up in the journey, and got to hear how this originated. So with ancestral healing, how that works is that we get passed down issues. It could be any issue. I'm talking about a financial issue, but it could be an issue with abusing substances. It could be depression. It could be any kind of issue that we think is ours. But the reality is these issues, many of them have been passed down from previous generations, and we don't necessarily know that. We think it's ours because it's in our life, but oftentimes it started generations before us. So it's really helpful to be able to have a journey where you could meet the person, your ancestor, where this started from, and to hear the story, and with compassion and with healing involved, and to let the story go. So that's one of the journeys that I do. But one of the ones that I always recommend that people start out with is getting connected with their totem animal, or their power animal, or their animal spirit guide. It's all the same thing. But we all have these spirit guides. And there's one main one, and we don't get to pick them. They choose us. And they've been with us for a long time. And we oftentimes don't know who it is. So once you know who it is, then you can tap in to the gifts that they offer. And they each offer different gifts. For example, if your totem animal is an eagle, then you would get the gift of having a higher perspective and having a clear vision that you would be able to tap into with your animal spirit guide, and it would get compounded. So that's why it's good to know what your animal is, so that you can tap into that more easily and receive their support and receive their guidance. Most people love animals too.
Yes, so I'm quite curious about the spirit animal, and something I've never really explored myself. I know about it, but how do you introduce somebody to it?
Sure. How I do that is supporting people with getting into an altered state of consciousness. And the way I do that is using a shamanic drum and rattle and medicine songs. I have them lay down so they can get really comfortable, have them close their eyes, start out with some deep breathing. And then I call in all of the unseen world that supports us and that are present to assist with the journey. And then I'll start drumming and I'll guide them on a journey in their own imagination. It starts in the imagination because our imagination is a structure that allows other beings and other entities and other energies to come in to your field. And I set it up so that only beings and energies that vibrate love and light are allowed in the sacred space. So it's a really safe space that I set up at the beginning. And then I have them do a journey using the tree of life, following the roots of the tree downward into the earth and opening up into a forest. And then we call their spirit guides to come forth. And so I'll have them in their imagination walk through this forest, and they'll often experience many animals. And everybody has their own way of journeying or experiencing the unseen world. Some people will have visions. Some people will feel things. Some people will hear things. So everybody has their own way of experiencing spirit, and it's all fair game. So we would ask their spirit animal to come forth. And that's when the meeting would happen between them two. And when people meet their spirit guides, you know, these beings are filled with so much light and so much love and peace that it often is so overwhelming to experience that it often brings tears to the person that's experiencing them. I have them do the journeys so that they could have a direct experience of everything that's happening, and they can have their own emotions and their own experience of their spirit guides, which is more empowering and more powerful that way.
It's so important, I think, in the kind of work that we do to never guide our clients, to let them actually guide it, and so that they can take that journey with you. And I mean, the wisdom that you gain from getting those messages is something that nobody can take from you. And as you say, people get so emotional, so it's absolutely fantastic. And is it possible for somebody to have more than one spirit animal, or is it only one?
Absolutely. My teacher says we have 9.
Oh,
And,
interesting.
Yeah, and there's one main one.
Yeah.
But there's other ones that also support, and each have different specializations and different times that they come into our life. And some fall into the background and some fall into the foreground, depending on what kind of support we need at that time of our life. So it's, thank God we're not in charge of setting all that up. It just happens all by itself.
So the totem comes into your life at the particular time that you need the totem. So you get a different totem animal because of what you're going through. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that they are with us at birth, maybe even before then, but we don't realize that they're there with us until we do. Yeah. And there's different ones that are more prominent in our lives at different phases of our life. So for example, mine is an owl. And
wisdom.
Yeah, wisdom. That's right. And teaching and spirituality and being able to see things that other people aren't able to see. So when I first met my owl, I was shocked. I didn't realize that, because I thought I had no clue it was an owl. I thought it would definitely be something different. But the more I sat with it, the more it made sense that this is absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I need right now, doing this journey that I'm on in life. So there's no mistakes.
Yeah.
So how were you able to use your background in psychology and Jungian theory and depth psychology? Um, how did you mend that, put those two together? Because it's quite the leap, actually. People will say to me, it's like, wow, that's what you do, the hypnosis stuff. That's pretty woo-woo, isn't it, for a Catholic? you know, for a Catholic especially. So how did you make that leap? You talked about how you always were more interested in something that was off the beaten track with your interested in Sasquatches and that type of stuff. So you started studying psychology, but how did you make the leap to shamanism?
Yeah, that's a great question, Fran. After doing a successful practice of helping people in psychotherapy for over 25 years, once I started getting more experience with what shamanism has to offer, it opened up a whole new way of healing that is really, really difficult to tap into with traditional talk therapy. With traditional talk therapy, you're mostly engaging the person's analytical mind. And there's, you're bumping into lots of defense mechanisms. And it's a lot of work, and it can go really slow. And it can also be very empowering as well, too. What I found with shamanic work is that it allows folks to bypass their analytical mind and to work on the level of soul and spirit, which can transcend and remove so many barriers, and it gives you more direct access to your emotions as well too. And there's also one shamanic journey that I found particularly helpful that sort of parallels psychology in some ways. It's called a soul retrieval. And a soul retrieval is about knowing that when we go through life, we all experience traumatic events, and that a fragment of our soul or spirit gets left behind in some of these events. And we learn to adjust to who we are after that, but we're not quite the same. And these can accumulate, and feeling disconnected with yourself, feeling like you're not present in your body, or a lack of purpose, a lack of drive. So a shamanic soul retrieval is actually doing a journey where you go back and retrieve these soul fragments, and you bring them back into the here and now. And in psychology, that's called when you have these emotions and you check out of your body, it's called disassociation.
Yeah.
When you leave. So it's the same thing. So it's so empowering for people to bring these fragments back into their present being. They often feel more connected to themselves. They feel more energy in their life. And the reason they feel more energy is because when we have these traumatic events that are unresolved, they're actually using our energy. And we don't realize it, but it's happening in the background, and we may not be thinking about it. We may not be feeling it, but it's taking up energetic space. So once you recover that space back, all this energy is now available, and you can use this energy to, whatever you want, follow some new passions, have more energy for the day, for your relationships, or for your life. I found that to be a gift just in itself, is just to have more energy as you reclaim and become more whole. So yes, this is all possible in normal psychotherapy, talk therapy. It just takes a long time. And so I highly recommend people to try a shamanic session, especially the soul retrieval. Those seem to be the most popular ones that most people request, are the soul retrievals, because there's so much healing that can happen.
It's interesting because it makes me think of the concept of the iceberg, where it's the 5% of the mind that's conscious and the 95% that's subconscious. And I think what we see, and from what I'm hearing from you, is it's the pain is stuck in that 95%. And if you work on that 5%, it's going to take a long time to resolve because you try to reason it out. So it's that hidden 95% where, to me, it's finding that soul. And I mean, you hear a lot of terms these days. It's oneness. So to me, it's just finding that connection with yourself or with the divine in you again. And I think in a very big way, we speak the same language. And I cannot agree more with you. The absolute magic that happens when somebody can heal on a deep soul level and see themselves without these hurts that have been accumulated. And you put it so beautifully, that energy that it leaks from what you're really supposed to do. So it's wonderful to hear your take on this, Ernie.
Thank you. One more thing that came to mind is that when you do a traditional therapy session, that nobody's calling in these ancient spirit beings into the session. So when I do a session, I'm calling in the 4 directions. I'm calling in the elemental kingdom of fire, air, earth, water, all of our ancestors, all of our spirit guides, all of our angels. So this whole room is packed full of the unseen world that are there to help guide and support a person's healing. And you don't get that with a normal therapy session. And that's huge. It's humongous.
Yeah, there's so much to be said about the power in believing that there's more out there. There's more out there. And okay, so we're having difficulties in whatever relationships or money or health issues, and we take that one pill, and yet unless we had started addressing all this other stuff, our beliefs and our lifestyles and our amount of sleep and our everything, we're never gonna solve the problem with one pill. We are a holistic being. We were made that way. We were created to be, all of this is more than just going to be solved with one pill. And that's why, I don't know what depth psychology is, but I think this is deep stuff. It's more than, there's more going on than what we're aware of in the spirit world for our best interest. Like if we can just tap into it, and and make ourselves available to it. I think that there's a lot out there, and I'm really grateful for people like you who are taking those really old traditions, like from millennial. These shamanic healing is how old is it? Millennially, I can't even tell you. Ancient, like it's since time immemorial, really. And bringing it back and putting that other stuff on the side. Just let's put it on the side for a little while and just consider the fact that there may be healing benefits in thinking differently.
Well said. Yeah, thank you for saying that. The only thing that I could add is that I highly recommend that people start to begin somewhere, and that the first thing I would suggest is to carving out some time for yourself. We're being bombarded with so much social media and news and just stuff of living that we oftentimes don't have some alone time where you can sit quietly with yourself and tune in. Just tuning in with yourself and just feeling what's there is something that most of us don't do regularly or maybe at all. So that would be a good start, is to carve out some time, preferably every day, and to check in with yourself. And to take it one step further, I also recommend a daily practice where that involves all parts of your being. So getting some physical activity in. I like to do yoga every morning, something physical. And also, the thing about yoga is that there's deep breathing. It connects you with your breath. And I love the deep breathing because it makes me just so peaceful. It instantly can change my consciousness just by doing deep breathing. So something as simple as that can make a significant difference in helping people changing their state of mind from stress or overwhelm to feeling peace. And all it takes is a few moments of deep breathing.
I think breathing is absolutely amazing. I do absolutely believe in that as well. Just opening all the chakras and just see what happens. So opening yourself up to more. So you mentioned that the big shift for you also came in 2020, and I find that a lot of us had a shift in 2020. What do you think really happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, it was transformational. Many relationships shifted in my life where they no longer was a connection there and they fell away. So many relationships went away and new things came into my life. So I think for many people, it was a time for upgrading our lives, bringing in our passion, bringing in things that will support us, and letting go of the things that no longer support us. I know so many people that have lost relationships through that period of time. And it totally makes sense. I believe right now, more than ever, it's critical that we, as a whole, connect with ourselves instead of finding information outside of us, to tune in to our own information and wisdom about how to be, about how we feel, about how we think about things. When we get good at this and we connect with ourselves, everything that we need to know is inside of us. All of our answers are inside. All we have to do is listen and pay attention. And we're so programmed to not do that. We're programmed to get information and know what to do next by what the TV tells us or what our family or friends. It's all external, which can be helpful, but it's most valuable when you can be guided from within and let that guide your life. It's hard to do, but it's very, very rewarding. And I think that is our mission more than anything else.
Well, I find that external source of news is also sometimes very fear-based, and for a reason. So if you can get that discernment within yourself and that wisdom within yourself to know when to really take it at heart and when to stop the flow of energy into fear, that's I think one of the things that's probably the most challenging in the world right now is not to succumb to that fear-based news that reaches us all.
Absolutely. We're being bombarded with fear.
Yeah.
We get it everywhere. And I agree with you that it is debilitating to be in that state of mind. So I think it's important to discern what you're bringing into your energy field. And that includes what you watch on TV. That includes the people you hang out with, the music you listen to. Everything is a choice about what you want to bring into your energy field. And if you use discernment, you can minimize this fear. And then there's our own fear, which comes from us. So being able to discern when you're in a state of fear, and sometimes it's hard for people to tell when they're in that state of fear. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're in it. So having somebody that can help you is great as well too. And then transforming that fear and not holding on to it. Anytime I feel afraid, that's a sign for me to pay attention to what's the message that I'm receiving from this, and is it real? Is it something real, or is it something that I'm either fabricating, or that is doesn't really mean anything? Oftentimes I find that it's the latter, that it's just something I either invented or it's not a real fear. And so it's easier to let it go that way.
So, Ernie, if I came to you because I'd been to the couch therapy and I'm just still, I'm still not where I want to be in whatever, whatever my issue is. So, I've heard about you. You do this woo-woo work, dream work, and all of this. So, how would you lead me through a session? What would that look like?
Oh, sure. So, yeah, when I start working with people, the first session is all about understanding where they're coming from and what their need is. Everybody is coming with something. And so we'll talk about that and what their goals are. And then we'll talk about what kind of shamanic journey would meet their need the best. Sometimes it'll be a soul retrieval. Sometimes it'll be bolstering their support and guidance. And so getting them connected with their animal spirit guide makes most sense. And then there's also cord cutting. I haven't talked about cord cutting yet. So this is more about relationships. When people have relationships that are unhealthy, we have unhealthy energetic cords that tie us to people. We can't help but do this, to have these energetic cords. And when they become unhealthy, it's really important to cut those cords so that new, healthier cords can form. And so we can do a shamanic journey to do that. Or it can be cutting these cords for a relationship that there was a loss that we want to let go of. So whatever the issue is, we would find the right shamanic journey to support them in the next step. And I always find that it takes a few sessions, because during the first session, if somebody's never done this before, it's all brand new. And so hearing the drum and going into an altered state of consciousness and doing the shamanic journey, it could be challenging for some people. So the more practice they get at it, the more comfort they will feel. And after a few sessions, they'll start to feel more comfortable with doing the journey and knowing that they're on the right course. They have less self-doubt about it. So it gets easier, and you're able to relax and trust more the more you do it. So the more sessions, the better.
So tell us about the dream therapy. I'm quite intrigued by that.
Sure. So I got training on this at Pacifica Graduate Institute, where they offer a class there on dream tending. And this has been one of my passions. And it basically, dreams are an X-ray, just like of your body. It's an X-ray of what's going on in your psyche. And it shows us the areas that we need to, it shows us the areas where we're at currently. And anytime you see a person, it's oftentimes a symbol of representation of a part of you. So, of course, there's dreams where they're prophetic, where we're dreaming about things that happen in the future. But most dreams are really parts of ourselves that are either that we've neglected, are in the shadows that we've disowned, or there are parts of us that are becoming more enlightened, more parts of us that we're becoming more aware of. So they show us who we are, and they show us what we're struggling with. They show us what our successes are. So, and it speaks in the language of symbols. So it's not always what it seems. And you know what the symbols are when you associate what happened in the dream to something that's important in your life, and you'll feel this aha when you found the right symbol and you could decode the dream. It's really powerful when you can get the message. And when you have dreams that you have recurrently over and over and over, that's because there's a piece in there that you haven't quite gotten what the lesson is yet. So that's our subconscious trying to help us get the lesson. So it keeps being repeated. So try to keep a dream diary right next to your bed so that you can capture some of these images and some of these symbols and jot them down. And that way you can spend more time with them in the morning. I've tried that. And once you start doing that, you start remembering more and more and more of your dreams. So having a dream journal is a great idea if you want to go deeper with your dreams. I know some people don't remember their dreams. So.
Me too. My husband speaks a lot in his sleep. And like even last night, he woke me up and it sounded like it was, I just let him be. I've learned that sometimes I would wake him up and then he had a really good experience. So I stopped doing that. So I just let him be and work through it, whether it's good or bad. It's been really good lately. But last night, it sounded like he spoke in a different language. And I was just listening like, what did he just say? I wish I understood. It was not English.
That's funny. So he was dreaming in a different language. You could hear his words.
Yeah, I could hear his words, but it was, I didn't even tell him about it. He left early, but I could hear his words, but it was not in English.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. So when I see him later today, I'll have to ask him, can you remember what you said? Just fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's one of the ways that our subconscious is trying to communicate with us through dreams.
Right.
And
Can you give,
go
sorry,
ahead.
Ernie, can you give us an example of like a person who's come in with a dream, and like, did you interpret it or did you lead them to interpret their own dream, or like how does that work if you're giving dream therapy, dream work?
Sure. I always find that it works best if they can do their own interpretations, because we each have our own background, our own history that the dreams are coming from. And so I find that each person is their own expert in terms of what the symbols can represent. Now, there are some symbols that are universal that are good to know. For example, if somebody dreams of a house, that can mean that the house is symbolizing their psyche, their consciousness. And there's some dream books that give some of these symbols and what they could mean, but ultimately it's really up to the person to feel the aha, that this is what the symbol means. And it could show you a place that is in the shadows that you're not aware of. The dreams are always trying to increase your awareness about who you are and what's happening in your life, what your roadblocks are, and supporting you. They're always there to support you and to help reveal the next step of moving forward in your life. So Yeah, I used to have recurring dreams, stressful dreams of a conflict with this one person, and it just kept happening over and over and over. And it allowed me to do a deeper dive into that relationship and to see what it was that was creating some of these blocks. And after I did my own inner work, the dreams totally shifted. And that's the power of doing the work and working with your shadow. We often only want to work with the things that make us look good socially, the things that we're aware of. So working with the subconscious, it's all about the stuff we're not aware of, the stuff that's hidden. And that doesn't necessarily mean all the dark stuff about us. It could mean our power is also in the shadow. Some of our gifts are in the shadow. So I want to use the shadow as anything that we're unaware of. And it could be all kinds of different things. So it's taken me training to not see the shadow as something that's bad to stay away from. The word shadow, can have a negative connotation, but I want to reframe that to mean just anything that's unaware, anything that you're unaware of. And that could be all kinds of stuff. There's lots of goodies in the shadow.
Just shine your beautiful light in it and it gets revealed.
It's true. Yeah, we see our light in the shadows.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I think about the work that Marina and I do, and it's so similar, right? We just call it different labels. When you talk about the soul retrieval, we also do a form of that when we go and rescue the injured child.
Yes.
Right? Upgrade the injured child and rescue them and take them and make them part of us as the adult who we are right now, who's protective and caring and loving and will protect them forever. There's so much similarity in that, Ernie. And we also look at, that part of ourself, find within ourselves. It's like the shadow. We don't call it that, but we find the part of ourselves where the hurt is, and we deal with that spot, however that our client chooses to deal with that spot within themselves. It might be a block in their throat, or something in their stomach, or something in their heart, or where, maybe it's in the head, a headache. It's fascinating work. And you're right, the shadow is for us, not against us. And it helped us. It was a tool at one point when we needed it. And when we become aware of it and integrate it or release it, that's where the true beauty of the healing, can start. It's to recognize it was for us the whole time. It just got a little bit sidetracked or whatever on our journey to adulthood and beyond. So it's interesting that you said that you had you started training in shamanism, and then there was a real low point in your life where you went through a big depression. There was a divorce and stuff that led you to seek other things. And I think that Marina and I both went through that as well. So can you kind of explain that in your own words, how that depth of depression sometimes is necessary in order, sometimes it's just necessary in order for us to become more enlightened?
Absolutely. So I call those the dark night of the soul, when we feel that at an ultimate low point in our lives, where we feel empty or alone, or that everything we've tried doesn't work. And I've had several of those in my life. And what I found is that for the two times in my life where I had the most intense dark night of the soul, it was shortly after that experience that I found teachers. Somehow I made this connection with teachers were brought into my life after the dark night of the soul. And the timing is perfect, because I think that when we have these dark nights of the soul, and it could be a loss of relationship, could be an illness, it could be an accident, could be all kinds of different things that get people there. For me, the first one was a divorce, and it just shattered my world. And in this shattering, it allows an openness to be open to new possibilities, an openness to that something more is possible. I think is necessary for us to move forward. These calamities that happen in our life are actually gifts for us to move forward. That's my experience. I think that life is constantly, everything that happens in life, whether it's a huge calamity, dark night of the soul, or even something that doesn't go our way, is always for us, not against us. Life is always for us. And I know that that doesn't make sense a lot of the time. So when you slow down to think about it, it oftentimes takes some time before you could see that. It's hard to see it immediately. But after time, you can look back and say, oh, wow. So when I went through this illness, that actually opened up this other piece that allowed this other piece to happen. And so it brings things and helps shape us to who we are. And it informs our highest calling. It informs our highest life. So it doesn't feel good in the moment, but it's for the best.
Well, I can just imagine how much understanding it gives you for your clients and what they go through. Instead of just learning that pain from a book, you actually live through it. You thrive in spite of it. You learn from it. So I can just imagine that it just makes you excellent at your job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's important to have compassion for myself and for everyone as well, too. Absolutely.
So, Ernie, as we always focus on the theme of hope. What is your message of hope?
My message of hope would be that connecting with our emotions is one of our gifts that we have, because it taps us into what is really going on inside of us. And it's so easy to squash our emotions and to deny them, not go there. But our emotions are our divine energy, and it helps connect us with our truth. So my message of hope would be to, instead of avoiding emotions, would be to allow yourself to feel them. Because when you feel your emotions, it actually allows them to shift. When you completely feel them, they go away. And that's where the healing happens. We get sick physically or mentally, emotionally, because we aren't feeling our emotions. And they don't disappear just because we don't feel them. They stay with us, and they go into the shadow. They go into our body. They create blocks in our body. They create illness after it's chronic. So the way out is to feel your emotions. That would be my message of hope that we all have access to every day.
You know, I totally agree. And the thing with the modern world is we're supposed to disconnect from anything that doesn't feel good. We're supposed to make it better, somehow make it better. And it just takes such a brief amount of time just to feel the feeling, just feel it. And then you can be finished with it so that it doesn't, like you talk about something in the background, working in the background. I think about all the tabs that are open on my computer and how the techs used to come around at school and say, no wonder your computer's so slow, Fran. But that's kind of the same thing, are, these experiences, these emotions, these whatever it is that's still working in the background. We need to give closure to it so that we can run our hard drive a little faster and a little bit more energetically and
Yeah, well
do
said.
the work that we were put here to do. Yeah, thank you, Ernie, for sharing
Great
that.
analogy. Fine, I like that.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So how can people get a hold of you, Ernie?
Sure, you can reach me at my website, which is floresshamanichealing.com.
Can you spell that for those of us that have a hard time?
Absolutely. That's F as in Frank, Lores, and shamanic is SCHAMAN. Wait a minute. Shamanic.
Is it?
Oh, IC.
Yeah.
And then healing, HEALING.
Good.
Perfect.
Shamanic
We'll
healing.
put a link on as well, so it will be in
Mhm.
the publication. So
And thanks for reminding me. There's a SCH in
right,
shamanic.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
right.
okay. I wouldn't have put a C in there, but thank you
Yes, me
for
neither.
reminding. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
also have a Gmail address as well?
No, I have a Proton Mail. My email address, this one's easier, is Ernie Flores at protonmail.com.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Ernie. That was absolutely enlightening, and I've learned so much from you today, and I'm very sure that our viewers will as well. So thank you for teaching us and for being just such a bright, shining light in this world. And we are really privileged to have you as our guest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fran and Marina. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And thanks for joining us, all of you out there today. And if you enjoyed what you were seeing and watching and hearing today, please subscribe. We always love to have more of you here.
Okay. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.